the Los Angeles County Sheriff and Fire Department will have to shell out over $30 million for taking and sharing photos of the crash that killed Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and 7 others. The jury awarded the plaintiffs Vanessa Bryant $16 million and $15 million to Chris Chester, who lost his wife and daughter in the crash. Now, the lawsuit was based on unethical pictures taken of Vanessa's husband, Kobe Bryant, and her daughter, Gianna Bryant, after they died in the January 2022 helicopter crash. Joining us right now from our panel, I want to get their thoughts on this. We have Erica, Reese, and Terrain. Erica, tell me what your thoughts are on them winning this lawsuit.
First and foremost, I am completely disgusted. And that they were not in rapid order arrested, jailed, is amazing to me. It says all that we need to know about the slave patrol and the legacy of that. When you look at trauma and its ripple effects and what Mrs. Bryant and the family of Kobe Bryant will have to live with, this is not something that happens in a truncated amount of time. This is a lifelong journey of moving forward without a husband, a father, of a global figure. And so to, on top of that, have to deal with, honestly, the legacy of slavery. One of the first things that I thought back to is historically how after lynchings, and even when there weren't lynchings, just thinking about the traumas that were that Black bodies have had in historically for centuries and still endure. But, lynchings where there were photographs taken and they were made into postcards, and those postcards were sent throughout the mail, that there would be children that would be present at those hangings and at those lynchings, that even parts of bodies of Black people were kept as heirlooms and passed down through families. That's what it immediately brought me to. So, we're continuing to see a legacy of people who have no conscience of the humanity of Black people. I think that the judgment is really a drop in the bucket to what somebody now has that is living on their phone, that's living on a cloud server somewhere, that they're continuing to pass around and who knows do what with. But that these people have not been in rapid order, again, charged and arrested and having to do serious jail time, to me, is an injustice in and of itself.
And you know what? That was the first question that popped in my head as well. What happened to these deputies? Now, I would like to preface this with a TMZ reporting that stated that at least 8 of the sheriff's deputies took photos of the crash site with their personal cell phones, but they deleted the photos and they also got brand new cell phones. And so supposedly these photos can no longer be shared, but is that enough? That should not be enough. So I'm going to actually go to Terrain. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with everything Erica said, and I want to add this as well. There's a mentality in America that's been in effect ever since we got to these shores that you don't have to really respect the autonomy, or you don't have to respect the dignity of Black bodies. And I think what you see with this case and what you see with what happened after the death of Kobe and Gianna was this sort of feeding frenzy tied to a couple of things. Again, one was that disregard for Black bodies, and also money. What people haven't talked about is the fact that these sort of things are very lucrative. If you can get a picture of death, if you can get a picture of a celebrity death, if you can get a picture of any kind of celebrity, either misdeed or something that happens to a celebrity, there are websites out there and there are newspapers out there and there are magazines out there that are willing to pay you huge sums of money for this sort of thing. We saw this with the death of Princess Diana back in the 90s. And this is what you're seeing now is just a continuation of that. The other part of that is this. I think there's also, because of that greed and because of that obsession with trying to get paid off of getting some sort of issue of a picture of celebrity, that has left a lot of decency, and there's a lack of human decency out here in this culture right now. Some of y'all might remember, I don't know where a lot of you grew up from, but like in the South, there used to be a thing where, like, if a funeral passed you by, people would stop their cars and let the funeral pass by.
Mm-hmm.
There's this basic disregard for human dignity that you're seeing in this Kobe case is playing out. And when you, like I said, when you factor that in with money and the fact that you can get paid for showing this lack of human decency, anything goes. So I'm glad that this decision came down. I'm actually kind of surprised it came down. The LAPD and a lot of these sheriff's departments will fight you tooth and nail to pay out anything. So I think the fact that it was a very famous, world famous person, and the fact that his wife was dogged about not letting this go is why we got what we got. And I think it's going to be a harbinger of things to come, because this is just one case. This sort of thing happens all the time, and I think it's going to make a lot of outlets wake up and realize that you're going to have to move in a different way.
The blatant disrespect of those who had passed away, a lot of people are thinking about that, but also we have to keep in mind those who are still living. Remember, the verdict for this lawsuit came down literally the day after Kobe's birthday. So his family was celebrating his birthday and then had to go into court the next day and hear this verdict come about. And I can't imagine, if they really were able to give it the respect and the love and the dedicated time to it, because they had to go deal with this situation the following day. So it's not just the disrespect of those who passed, but also those who are living and still dealing and grieving with that. Reese, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think number one, you have to be a sick fuck to sit up there and try to take pictures of charred bodies from a plane crash. So it's disgusting. If Dr. Carr were here, he would say no humans involved when we're talking about the LAPD. And as Terrain and Erica pointed out, part of that is because these are Black bodies involved. But when you're a white victim, instead of the whiteness and the privilege behind that extending to the Black bodies, you get the proximate drawbacks of being, next to Black bodies, because there were white families that were victimized by this as well. And to your point, part of the damages were for future pain and suffering, because this is going to compound the grief and the trauma that they will never be able to get over. So I think that it's some measure of justice. It's not full justice. And I don't know if anybody's going to learn their lesson from this, but I just hope that it brings some level of comfort to the Bryant and the other victims' families.
I don't know if you guys remember when Aaliyah died in the plane crash coming back from her video shoot. There were photos littering the internet of her body. I still, to this day, I'm picturing it as I'm saying it. Those are things you cannot unsee. And I was a teenager when that happened. I mean, I couldn't imagine this family seeing those images of their loved ones. No one wants to remember their loved ones like that, and especially in like Aaliyah's family's in that situation. Those images are still online. But I would like to point out, though, that Governor Newsom did sign a privacy bill in September of 2020, which he called the Kobe Bryant Act, which was making it illegal for first responders to take photos like these individuals did, unless they need them for law enforcement. But even then, still, they have forensic teams. You see them out there. You've seen CSI. They come out and they take their photos. Let them do that. I really don't feel there's a need for officers to do that, especially if they have body cameras, too. There's no need for that.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?